You don't have to look very hard these days to find somebody talking about authority, particularly in regard to the government, whether they have the right or the authority to do something. For those of us who are Christians, we're aware that even though we have to be in submission to those human governments, those human authorities, there is a higher authority. We know that that highest and higher authority is God himself. And the Bible is just riddled with reminders that God is ultimately in control over even every human government. One of those passages is 1 Peter chapter 4. 1 Peter talks about this quite a bit, but in this passage he's talking about God's authority. He says that in all things God may be glorified through Jesus Christ, to whom belongs the glory and dominion forever and ever. That Jesus, under God's authority, has all authority over human life, over this world. Jesus is the one that has all dominion and all authority. As such, we as Christians, we are living in subjection to our human authority, but more importantly, we're living in subjection to Christ and the authority that he has over all things. And because of that, we are kind of left to be ambassadors between the two. And so he's given us some instructions that as I'm living for his ultimate glory, in light of his dominion over all things, I live in a certain way in this physical world in which I am temporarily dwelling. And he gives us a couple of examples of how we should carry that out. The beginning of verse 11, whoever speaks is to do so as one who is speaking the utterances of God. So when I speak, I should be speaking words that God himself would say, that the words I speak should be such that God would want them said in this world. I am speaking as an ambassador for God. Wow, the bar's set high on that. How often do you talk? How often do you say things that God would be utterly ashamed of? Would God put his stamp of approval on everything that comes out of your mouth? Certainly that includes the type of words that you use, but the topics of conversation as well. The slanderous things we say about other people, the arguments that we enter into. I would challenge you today, make sure that every word that comes out of your mouth is something that you would be comfortable with saying, this word is from God. God would approve of what I'm saying. And in fact, this is the very same thing God would speak into this situation. So speak as one who is speaking the utterances of God, and serve as one who is serving by the strength which God supplies. So my words should be God's words. My actions should be enabled and strengthened and empowered by God. Am I working in my own power or in God's power? Am I working as one through whom God is working? So everything that I do with my hands, every action that I undertake, needs to be something that God would do. My words should be God's word. My actions should be God's actions. My question for you today is, how true is that of you? How many of your words can you say are God's words? How many of your actions can you say are the actions that God would take? And then he's really just using those as two examples, because he generalizes and says that in all things God may be glorified. That is the ultimate goal of our existence. As we live in this current world system under government that we may or may not agree with, it really doesn't even matter. Your opinion of how good a job they're doing, your opinion of what is being required of you, your opinion of how good or bad the world around you is, how much you like or dislike your circumstances, none of that matters. What matters is that you live your life as a faithful ambassador of God's kingdom while in this kingdom, and you do so by making your words his words, your actions his actions, and your priority being his glory alone. Live your life that way today.